Hi, I'm Jeremy Kirk with Intel 471, and this is Happy Hunting, which is Intel One's threat hunt program. With me today is Lee Arkinall, who is a senior threat hunt analyst. Welcome, Lee.
How's it going, Jeremy?
Good, thank you. We're going to demo a threat hunt in a bit here that covers a common method used by threat actors to achieve persistence on compromised machines. First, I'm going to give a short brief on a group that uses this technique, which is called DragonForce. DragonForce is a ransomware as a service group, or RAS, that launched around 2023. It initially gained attention with politically motivated attacks, targeting that kind of aligned with their ideological beliefs, but then it pivoted to mostly financially motivated ransomware. So far this year, in 2025, Intel 471 has tracked 53 possible victims. DragonForce has said that it's kind of running a cartel operation where threat actors affiliates may use its brand and then launch attacks that leverage DragonForce's infrastructures, tools, and resources, such as its data leak site. This is not terribly different from your typical ransomware as a service program. As a result, the variant has been used in a variety of attacks globally against enterprises in the retail, financial, and manufacturing sectors in pretty much all geographies: North America, Europe, and Asia. The DragonForce doesn't have its own ransomware encryptor. Instead, they've been leveraging leaked ransomware builders from other groups, including Conti and Lockbit. Typically, the affiliates employ a dual extortion strategy where they steal the sensitive data first and then hold that for ransom if an organization does not decide to pay for a decryptor. It's unknown where DragonForce is based. One of its main operators has written posts on the RAMP cybercrime forum, which stands for the Russian Anonymous Marketplace. There have been suggestions that it might be based in Malaysia, as there is a hacktivist group called DragonForce Malaysia. But last year in 2024, the hacktivist group said it did not have any association with the DragonForce RAS. DragonForce may be familiar to some of you, as it has been referenced quite a bit lately, related to large data breaches in the UK affecting the retailers Marks and Spencer and Co-op. These breaches caused extensive disruptions at both organizations, and at M&S involved file encrypting ransomware. A group of native English-speaking threat actors claimed responsibility to the BBC for the attacks, and the prevailing thought is that these individuals may be part of the COM online ecosystem. So the COM is a large group of threat actors operating on cybercrime forums and Discord and Telegram that specialize in cryptocurrency thefts, data breaches, and phishing. The group is also broadly referred to as Scattered Spider sometimes, which was CrowdStrike's name for a group of threat actors that used a particular TTPs. COM actors also use these same sort of TTPs, and they're known for being just absolutely relentless and persistent, often calling the help desks of organizations and impersonating IT staffs to try to get privileged accounts reset in attempts to get MFA tokens as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee, who's going to walk us through our feature threat hunt.
Thank you, Jeremy, as always, for that wonderful background on the adversaries and the intel that surrounds it. Now, while we do believe that intel is great, it only can go so far without being actionable. So here we like to call the intel-driven threat hunting approach, where we take this information, we identify things that we can use to make actionable in our environment. Now, while we do mainly focus on behaviors, I'd be remiss if I would leave out conducting an IOC scan. Now, IOC scans, while it's sort of outside the threat hunting scope, and normally reserved for SOC analysts or even, CTI teams or tips, what you want to do is you want to do a quick scan of those IOCs real quick, because those IOCs, while they may be old or may be dated, they are still pretty confident that if they are aligned with something malicious, they're going to stay malicious for like a file hash, if you can think about it. So one of the reports that we used to update our hunt package was actually mentioned that there was a registry key that was modified, and the registry key name was SOX5. And this was a registry key that they added in the Windows Auto Run registry key location, which enabled them to gain persistence. Now, they also dropped an executable in the environment, and it was named 69D30D7.exe, which looks completely legitimate. But If you have just these two indicators, what you can do is take a look at your environment, hunt for those terms, and see if you can find them. Because if you do find them, that might be a really easy, quick win and cut down the investigation by hours, days, or weeks. But if you do run these and you get, or if you scan for these IOCs and you don't get any results, does that mean you're not compromised? No. That's where threat hunting for behaviors fills the gaps. So while the adversary did display many behaviors, the one we're going to focus on is how they gained persistence by modifying that registry key that I called out earlier. The hunt package that we're looking at is the auto run or ASAP registry key modification. If you're not familiar with what that means or familiar with the terms, we can always look at the hunt package, which is a community-based hunt package, which means you can get your free account and gain access to it. We can jump down to the description to find out what this title means and what behaviors we're actually looking at. When we get to the description, we find that this is a common method that adversaries and malicious software alike achieves persistence by adding a program to the startup folder or referencing it within a registry run key. By adding an entry to the run keys, this allows the referenced program to be executed when a user logs in. So basically, having this malware run without the user needing to execute it or the user to be phished again and again and again. It's just now they're running, and that's how the adversary will gain access or repeated access to the system.
Lee, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up, Jeremy?
If organizations are running EDR, is EDR going to catch, I guess, a new reference to a registry run key or the addition of a registry run key for some potentially malicious application?
From my experience, most of the EDRs that we use to support will actually audit this location, simply because it has been identified as a high priority, and the fact that adversaries abuse it a lot, and it's very common. We want to make sure that we're auditing this because, quite frankly, EDRs are like black boxes where they're already configured and designed to look at specific locations, which is great because if you don't have audit logging, which is like Windows native logging, looking at this registry key, you might miss it. So the EDR is a great tool to just drop in, and it's already predefined and everything.
And for organizations that don't have EDR?
So unfortunately, and we see this a lot in ransomware attacks, because they kind of smash and grab, what we'll see is the pre-ransomware activity where they discover, what systems they landed on. And when I talk about this, I mean like small, medium businesses that may not have the funds or security tools or the needed protections for EDR. But if they just have like native Windows Defender, a lot of the times what we'll see is that part of the pre-ransomware activity consists of discovery, persistence, and then defense evasion. And within that defense evasion, they do multiple ways. So if they find out it's just Windows Defender, like the basic Windows Defender, they'll either exclude the path of their executable, or they'll do a general exclude, like don't look at anything, or they'll just turn it off using the MP preference parameter within PowerShell. So unfortunately, that's what we see a lot.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So now that we know that this can be used for persistence, the real idea is, well, we understand the threat. They have their malware constantly running on our machine. But what values are we looking for? And that can be found in the query logic. So if we come to the query logic table, now we can see the values that we're looking for. You can see the registry key paths that have this functionality, and there's more than one. And you can see the Microsoft Windows CurrentVersion Run. Then we have another CurrentVersion Run. We have a run once. But all these locations have the same functionality of executing something on logon. So that's what we're going to look for in our query. And the reason that we're looking for the registry key paths versus the name of a registry key value is that if you can think about, the adversary can name it anything they want. So why try to guess what they're going to name it when we can just look at the registry key that they're going to modify and say, hey, did something change or not? And now this can bring about the conversation about true and false positives. But, whenever we're in an investigation, there's, false positives are part of the game. We just got to weed them out and identify the abnormalities within our environment. So let's actually jump to the hunt and see what this looks like in data. So here we are in tool. We can see that our target object, which is the registry key portion of the event log, we see that all our paths are present. We got the software, Microsoft Windows CurrentVersion Run, and then, we want to see what does this look like, and we're going to aggregate with the values to see, just make it easier on us to look at the data. As we scroll, we can see that there's actually a lot of stuff going on. Now, these could be normal, especially if we take a look at the first 3 hits or the first 2 hits. See deleted cache standby, deleted cache standalone, and that appears to be on all of our machines. So at this point, it kind of looks like, hey, that might be a false positive because of all of them are displaying the same behavior. And if we could tie that back to a business use case, then we can exclude it from the results moving forward. But the one that really catches my eye, partially because I did it, we can see that this is the Microsoft Windows CurrentVersion Run, and its registry key name is decoy. If we take a look at that, if we expand this even further by looking at the details, we can see what is being referenced in this registry key. So then we can find the executable, the script, or whatever the case may be. So what we have here is we've simply modified the original query, and we've added the details field so that we can take a look at the executables or scripts or commands that are correlated with the registry keys that we're looking at. So coming back to our decoy, or this 2BB computer, we see the CurrentVersion Run decoy, and if we come all the way over, we see that one stands out, which is the C Windows sysfile 64 command.exe, which is the 32-bit version of command.exe on a 64-bit machine. But to correlate that, what we want to do is take one more step in the investigation and add another term to our search to call out the decoy registry key name specifically. So here we have our third step of the investigation. Now that we've added the details, what we've honed in on is the target object containing decoy. So the registry key path containing decoy, which is the one that kind of stood out. And what we can confirm now that our desktop 2BB is in fact the compromised machine. It does have the decoy registry key name on it. And we can also see in the details that the C Windows sysfile 64 is what is being referenced in that registry key. Now, real quick, if you have been following along with our happy hunting videos, and you can say that you were here from the beginning, you may have noticed we called it out back on episode 6 when we were discussing Fin 7. Now, not to beat a dead horse, but this is the value of threat hunting for behaviors instead of IOCs. By creating a hypothesis-based structured hunt, this can be applied to multiple threats and not just a single malware attack or group, whereas IOCs will eventually fade out and not be used anymore. Think of the adversary just changing the SOC 5 registry key value. If we were still looking for SOC 5 and they changed it to SOC 6, we'd miss it. But thanks everyone for joining today's Happy Hunting video. In this episode, we broke down how DragonForce affiliates are using registry key modifications for persistence and showed how a behavior-based hunt can uncover that activity even when the details change. Techniques like this aren't limited to one group, which is why building hunts around TTPs gives us coverage across different attacks and campaigns. The hunt package we use is linked below. Take a look, run it in your environment, and let us know what threats you want to see next. But until next time, happy hunting.